everyone, and welcome to another episode of Little Give. I'm so excited about our guest today. She has so much to share. Go ahead, tell us your name, where you're from, and what you're all about.
My name is Sunita. I'm from Boston, Mass. And I'm all about finding innovative ways to solve challenges that can move people forward.
Oh my goodness, I love that because I'm the same way. I love it when someone shows me a problem and then I just find a unique way to solve it. Tell us how you got into that and why you're passionate about it.
So it's been a lifelong career thing. I was in market research. I have a master's in functional medicine, which is root cause health. Everything about that is digging in below the surface. And I, about 5 years ago, formally, or a little bit more than that, got into like metaphysics tools. And so at this stage of my career, what I do in my business is I bring together root cause tools in application to business to solve things faster and better than the surface solutions that, in my opinion, aren't working. And one of my tools, it kind of categorizes you. You have a certain like criteria, and so that is how I'm built. I'm literally built to solve problems based on solutions that don't exist, and to be the
Yeah,
person who creates those solutions.
that's
So that's
awesome.
what
You
I'm about.
mentioned that's awesome. You mentioned digging in, below the surface. Tell us a bit about what you mean by that. Is that kind of like you listen to what the problem is and then kind of go a little deeper and listen to what they're really saying? Is that kind of what you're referring to?
I would say it depends. So in my current work, it goes well beyond that. Market research. I ran a market research firm for a long time. Um, mm, I guess probably that. It's that there's what you know what it's not that it's about waiting. You're finding that window. It's kind of like sales. Market research is like sales, especially it's done one to one. But it's like you're finding that window where you can feel the person. There's a window for you to open up for what the person really feels, what the person really. Because the thing is, if you ask a person what they don't like about a product or what they like about a product or pain point they have, especially if they're an employee, there's actually a problem below the problem. And
Absolutely.
so you could extrapolate that to health, and you could extrapolate that to business. So if we go to the next one of the next things I've done, which I had a prebiotic probiotic line. It was called Nourish Labs, and it was the first prebiotic probiotic to be shelf stable with gut brain clinicals. And so the whole thing about the gut is it's the root below the root. It's root cause medicine. And
Yeah,
so
I find that.
that's solving. It's not just about listening deeper. It's like what's really the linchpin that's causing all of the problems.
Absolutely. And yet you talked a lot about market research. And I find market research so fascinating because it's just, you can really get in the weeds with that, right?
You can, but the way market research should be done is that you get a bunch of data and you get the umbrella. Because when you're doing market research, no one cares about the weeds. They care about like what is the big thing we should know that we talk to 10 people. What is the thing that we're not saying that they're saying? What is the problem we solve that our competitors don't solve, or vice versa? Um, and also, as you know, in marketing, it's you get those quotes, you get those things that, and then you replay that back to people in white papers and sales enablement and all that, and it sells itself because the person feels like you're inside their head. How
Because
did
you
this
are.
person know what I wanted before I even said it? And so that's the sale. The rest is tactics, right?
Yeah.
Um, so that's market research, that's functional medicine. And then the work I do now, which is alchemical advisory, that's what I call it, with business owners, I can see why their business isn't working and it's never what they think.
What would be a prime example of that? One of the things you see often where they think it's one thing, but it's another.
They don't see their unique gifts. So they're trying to position themselves in a lane that isn't actually what they is their unique edge. There's so many layers to them, and they're misaligned with how they're presenting their ideas. They're ignoring the key parts of them that make them them. And what the thing is, it's going to feel like a pebble in their shoe. They're not going to take action. They're going to get friction, and they're going to think it's them. And I can see in a minute what they can't see, and I use my tools to do that.
Yeah.
Just
So
like a
what you
doctor
mean?
would use an MRI, just like a doctor would use an MRI to be like, if a good doctor can be like, this is what's problem with your knee, and we need to do this. This is where we need to cut. That's what I do for business.
Yeah, I can kind of see what you're saying because I hear so many entrepreneurs. I talk to people all the time, and I hear them talk about like, oh, it just feels like they're exhausted, like they're just working so hard and they're not able to get where they want to be. And then I notice, and then I bring it to their attention, like, well, you hate what you're doing. maybe you should focus on something you enjoy, and then use your unique gifts to build on that. But I see so many people who try to like kind of fit, a round peg into a square hole. It just doesn't go.
Right.
Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I use metaphysics tools. So I use astrology and I use human design, which is a metaphysics tool that is big in certain circles, and other circles people haven't heard of it. But the net is that um, you're designed a certain way. Let's say you had a blueprint. So I can see the blueprint. And so I'm looking at the blueprint and I'm looking at what you're doing and I can see where there's off.
Hmm.
And it's unconscious to you, but as soon as I say it, you're like, yes. So it's the system. What I do is, it's a little bit more energy based than just advice. It's actual, there's something that happens when I say something in a certain way, it changes people. It's almost like a frequency, it's almost like a piano tuner. So it's
Wow.
more than just seeing the insight and you're like, oh, you're right. I should be doing this instead of this. Like seeing the insight could be, let's say you went to a bakery and they were selling this type of cake. And then the consultant comes in and is like, you know what, actually, all of your revenue is coming from this one breakfast bun. You really should just sell this breakfast bun and maybe you should expand your breakfast menu and close for lunch, as an example. That's like business optimization. That's seeing what they can't see. That's using data. But what I do is I can see under the hood of the actual person.
Hi, my name is Justin Clark, and I'm the president of the board of directors for Driving Single Parents, a 501c3 nonprofit serving the citizens of San Antonio and Bexar County, Texas. I'm here today to tell you a little bit about the great work that our organization is doing for the citizens of San Antonio. What you're about to see is just a few photos and videos of the way that we're changing lives for single parents in and around San Antonio, Texas. Our first giveaway took place in April of 2017, just one short month after the formation of our organization. John, a Bexar County resident, was the victim of a horrible drunk driver incident. He and his daughter survived the crash, and we were so proud to give our first car to this deserving family. Fast forward to 2020, a very difficult year for nonprofits. We were able to secure 4 vehicles for single parents in need. Our organization, including our board of directors, list of partners, and portfolio of people we've been able to help in San Antonio, continues to grow, and it's all thanks to donors and local community organizations that have helped us along the way. This giveaway took place in 2021 and shows that we continue to help single parents even after the struggles brought about by COVID-19. Because of limited funds and the overwhelming need, we at Driving Single Parents are incredibly selective with the people we help. Some are victims of domestic violence. Others had a spouse pass away tragically, or otherwise fell on hard times. These single parents show adversity in the face of challenge and aren't looking for a handout. We offer a hand up and help get them back in the driver's seat. Many of the single parents we help go on to graduate college, get promotions, get married, mentor others, and some have even been so touched by the gift we gave them that they have decided to join our board of directors to pay it forward and ensure the continued growth of our organization. If you would like to help our organization continue to grow and continue to help single parents in need in San Antonio, Texas, and Bexar County, Texas, we would really appreciate your support. Please visit us online at www.drivingsingleparents.org. Thank you.
Do you do most of your work virtually, or do you most in person, or a mix? Tell me a bit
All
about how your
virtual.
program works.
All virtual, all virtual. I've been
Okay.
virtual since I've been an entrepreneur. 2015, I've been virtual. So Yes.
Yes. So people will hire you and then you kind of have like, is it like 1 or 3 sessions? Or tell me a bit about how when you go from the customer comes to you and then what happens next?
So it evolves, right? Our offers evolve because I first started out as human design informed business coaching, business advisory, and I'd work with people for 3 months like a standard business strategist. And I realized my superpower is that I can do in 15 minutes what somebody else needs 3 months to do. And I'm like a laser. I'm a catalyst. I'm not really a coach. I'm not a coach. So, my sessions are now 2 to 3 sessions where people come to me, things aren't working. And one of my clients called it psychic surgery. And so it's like, I meet with you and then you kind of like the insights bubble and it implements, it integrates, and then I meet again, and then I meet again. It's usually like 2 to 3 sessions. That's the way I had been working. But I'm going to be even creating more intensives where people just come to me for like a positioning intensive. And I can see all the inputs of like all the work you've done, the client case studies you have, what feels off, and what your positioning should be. And I can do that in like an hour. So
that sounds efficient.
Yeah, I do power positioning intensives, and I do what I'm calling alchemical advisory, which is like an intensive, which is maybe 2 sessions at the current time. And then people will want to be on retainer with me, and like we'll have a call once a month. Because the people I work with are accomplished, they're founders, they're driven, they're successful. They don't need me to handhold them per se, but it's almost like a clarity architect to like, yeah, that's the alchemical business advisory. That's my main long-term program. And I'm going to be releasing a smaller single session work. That's a positioning intensive.
Yeah, very interesting. So I think it's fascinating all that you're doing to help these business owners. I assume a lot of people come to you after they've already exhausted kind of everything else and they're like, nothing is working. And then you're able to be like, well, it's not working because of this. Is that?
Yes. Yes. And that's my design. I'm like the savior. I come in and people are like, I wish I'd found you earlier. And I'm like, it wouldn't have worked if you'd found me earlier. You wouldn't have hired me because you would have hired a regular business coach. And it's after that doesn't work, or they feel misaligned, or they built something, they want to burn it down, and they'll say stuck, they'll say self-sabotage, and they'll say lost. Those are the words they'll use. And they're not. Because I'm a big believer that when something is not the right direction, we're going to find excuses not to do it.
Yep. That's
or
so true.
We're going to hit friction. You could call it universe, you could call it body wisdom. It's just not going to feel like a fit. And once you get to a certain age, you're like, I don't really need to do this. I could do something else. So, yeah.
I also know that you have a podcast. Tell us a bit about the podcast, how you got started in that, and the kind of people you serve.
So Clear Signal is the name of the podcast. And it's this notion of returning to your own signal, because I get a lot of people who they're conditioned. They need to follow this formula. They need to do this. They need to do this. They need to take this piece of advice. And they've lost touch with their own inner self. And that's what I give people that back. And so Clear Signal is about navigating in the dark, which we do as entrepreneurs. I work with people at inflection points because that's who's come to me. I didn't try to do that. I just looked at who was coming to me and I said, everybody's at a pivot point, or not pivot point, inflection point in business. And they're over 40 and they're women. That's been every client I've ever had without targeting. So Clear Signal speaks to that in the design. The work I do uses frequency. And it uses this notion of you're taking in signal and you're sending out signal, not in a law of attraction way, but in a like marketing signal. So the podcast is a double entendre on having a clear signal. So you're making clear decisions, but also what is the signal you're sending out as a business owner? And is that in line with your design? And it's evolved. I mean, it was called the Aligned Alchemist before, and it was called so many things because it was a journey to get here. And that's the whole notion. There's an ethos behind that of the Aligned Alchemist, which was one of prior name of like, we're on this alchemical journey and everything is a learning.
Yeah, well, as we all grow
part of the process.
Hi, my name is Andrew Fraley, and I believe that sometimes we all need a little bit of help. If you're in the San Antonio community and you need some legal help, call me at 210-725-4658.
Yeah. Well, as we grow and evolve and change and take in new information, a lot of things change in our lives. So that's kind of cool how it's kind of gone through the process of evolving into what it is today. What made you want to start the podcast? I think it takes a special kind of person to want to do a podcast. And then there's always like something that got the idea moving in your mind.
So one of the things I mentioned, design, right? And I said, I'm built to be like, a certain person who comes in and does. So the other thing about my design is I'm a heretic. So heretic is someone who speaks out against conventional wisdom. And so I was just literally motivated to be like, I don't like the way the business is currently taught online. Coming from a formal background in the online world, a lot of people don't have that, and it's a lot of nonsense. And I also, that is the system I use, one of them is human design, which is huge online. There's podcasts dedicated to that. And I didn't like the stuff I saw about it. I felt inaccurate. So I was like, I'm just going to create my own podcast. So I wouldn't say that I created it out of some strategic move. I created it out of an unmet need and a desire to have a different voice. So
I've heard a lot of people refer to human design. What do you feel like is different from the way that you teach or use human design versus others?
I think that to really understand something, you have to study it. You have to do the due diligence. And too many people just jumped on the bandwagon. They got a certification. They read a couple of memes. They're looking at AI and surface sells. And human design, the way I use it is I use it as an MRI in my work. So the more surgical I can be, the more accurate. That's why I have the speed I do. It's just a frustration of people who haven't done the work, haven't done the reps. And so it's taught in a very surface way. I have no problem with the system itself. I just have a problem with the way that it's presented online. Too surface and too much focus on a money-making scheme. And that, there's a gray area there because it's a very intricate system and there's no scalability if you just focus on looking on under each person's hood, unless you want to be a reader, which I'm not. Most business owners don't want to be a reader. But at the same time, there's a difference between universalizing a principle and generalization.
Mm-hmm.
Universalization should be everyone can take something away. That's my podcast. Generalization is when you water something down to the point where it can be harmful. And that's what I saw happening. I also just saw there was nobody talking about it for the 40 plus space. It was the same people in the space. They all looked the same. They all had the same background. It was coaches for coaches. And I was like, this is a tool that could help a lot of different kinds of people.
Absolutely. Helping people. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part of what you get to do?
I feel like it brings together a lot of gifts I have. And so I enjoy it. I mean, I like puzzles. Anybody who's into any metaphysics tools likes puzzles because it's a lot of math. People think of it spiritual. It's not. It's a lot of math. And it's not of analysis. And so you have to be someone who's really into that. That's why I like market research. I like finding that eureka thing. And, the net is that I set people free. Women they get my energy and they're like, I don't care what people think anymore. I'm going to start my YouTube channel. And the women that I work with, again, I didn't try to do this. This is just who end up. They're people who change the world. They're people who are lights lighting other lights. So it is satisfying in that sense. And I enjoy that I get to bring together positioning and branding and all of my skills in ways that serve other people as well.
Wow, that's a lot of things that you're doing that are helping people get to their next best level is kind of what I'm hearing. Well, let's switch over to my little give questions. Why don't you give the audience an example of a little thing that they could do in their community that might just be a little give on their end, but might make a big impact on the other side?
I mean, I can give an example of something I've done recently, which is find if there's, example, I was canvassing for signatures for a bill to get on the state legislature for voting. So these little things you can do, or you can volunteer or help out a nature organization or help organizations that are trying to promote legislation in your area. Like if you do a small thing where, let's say you spend 2 hours and get some signatures at a grocery store or whatever your version of that is, then that allows that to go on a bill. And that bill passes, well, now we have funding for parks or land preservation in my state, as an example. So be looking at like small ways you could help out that might have bigger impact as a result.
Yeah, just a whole bunch of little things put together really does make a huge impact in this world. That's a great example. Can you give the audience an example of a time in your life where somebody did something little for you that might have just been a little give on their end, but really made an impact on you and in your life?
I would say just, people have opened doors for me, like if you ask someone do you know somebody who might, whatever you're looking for, networking, or you have something you want to get better at, or that person has a skill set or a piece of advice that you don't have, and the person takes the time to spend 15, 20 minutes talking to you, that can be like a game-changing way that we think about things that can honestly change your trajectory.
Awesome. What about nonprofits? Are there any nonprofits that you're excited about?
I would say Black Cat Rescue. It's a nonprofit. It's a no-kill shelter in Boston. If people don't know, black cats have, it's considered bad luck. So people don't adopt them. And so it's a real problem. And so that is a rescue exclusively dedicated to educating people about black cats and also putting them in good homes.
Oh, that's so sad. Well, I've not heard of this nonprofit, so thank you so much for sharing that. If anybody out there is watching right now who wants to get in touch with you, wants to learn more about you and all you do, can you give them all the details on where to find you?
I am SUNITA KUMAR. Sunita Kumar. I am Sunita Kumar. That is my way to find me on the web on every place. I'm on Substack. I'm on YouTube. I have Clear Signal, and that is on the show note of every Clear Signal if you can't spell it. And that's also my website with my offers. So social media.
Well, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. And everybody out there is watching, if you're excited about our podcast, want to know more about all that she's doing, please do go visit her website, find out more. I love that she's put everything in a real simple way where it can be easily found in all the ways that she's available online. If that nonprofit really spoke to you, please go to their website, find out more. And if it's something you're passionate about, please go make a donation. $1 or $5 multiplied by all of you watching today truly makes a big impact to these nonprofits. So thank you all so much for watching today. Thank you for being a guest for us, and we'll see everyone next week. If you enjoyed this episode of Little Give, head on over to our website at littlegive.com. You'll be able to find all the information about previous episodes and past guests that we've had on. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest on Little Give, all the information is also on the website. And if you have a nonprofit that you love and would like to recommend be on the show, all of that information is also on the website. We really appreciate you watching today, and we can't wait to see you again next week.